My name's Christopher Crowder. I worked in Coleraine, Northern Ireland. Lived there properly for 3.5 years, but have been involved in the ministry since 2016. What prompted me to go was I did an internship in 2016, global missions internship, and that just went really well. Built a good relationship, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to come back." And senior year, I wasn't really interviewing too well for other jobs, but I had professors approach me and say, "Hey, we think you'd be great for this." And I thought, well, since God has opened this door, got to walk the walk and just go on through. My work included, what you'd expect from, Sunday service, taking care of Bible class for the youth, helping out with song leading during service, or preaching when the preacher wasn't able to be there, or something of the sorts. But a lot of the ministry also includes being engaged in the community. So I was part of a few organizations just in the community, trying to serve them, trying not to compete with them, take away resources from each other. So we try to engage with and work with these community organizations, again to prioritize those communities and try to bring that, Christian integrity into those. That involved taking kids on horse rides that had physical or mental disabilities, try to give them therapy through that. That was the rewarding side of things. The tricky side of things was shoveling out the stalls, but that's where we gain that integrity, is because, doing the work without grumbling or complaining was really meaningful to that organization. One of them is a multicultural forum, and that tended to work with immigrants who had just gotten to Northern Ireland. And so we try to help get them integrated, get to know their new community. If they need a couch, we find somebody with a couch that is willing to give them a couch. Small stuff like that. We would do a churches forum, be part of a churches forum, which part of the Irish history of Irish Catholic and British Protestant backgrounds, being at conflict, this forum would try to bring people together to learn about each other and promote, again, that peace and reconciliation. But we would also work at charity shops, so like their version of Goodwill and such, trying to, get money for these charity shops, but also just interact with the people that would come in and out. When Americans are over there, me and the preacher like to promote the idea of join a church member in what they're doing in the community. So like the riding school, there's 2 members that have been involved there for 20 plus years. And so that was my connection into there and how I started serving there. And it allows me to serve, members of the church, but also the community as well. And then many of the other things are me and the preacher, who's been there since the 70s, 80s. He's been their preacher. And so I try to do things with him to, as he might say, add some youthfulness to it, but really just to be there to be present and represent Christ to the people in the community with him. The congregation, I think is doing well. It's definitely an aging congregation, but like with some of the personalities, you would never know it was a aging congregation. One of the fascinating things I saw, like during COVID and such, was, most people were like, "Oh, we shrunk in size." And I don't, like talking about numbers in that kind of sense. But one of the fascinating things about Coleraine is they grew during COVID. Very small congregation to begin with. I'd say around 40 people. And then I think, 5 or 7 more people during COVID started coming. And, even one of the older gentlemen in his 90s who wasn't really involved. He's married to one of the ladies at church, decided to get baptized because something just clicked during COVID. I still wish I could understand it, but I don't, but that's okay kind of thing. But I'd say miracles still manage to happen, and so I'd say that would be a healthy place to be. My plans now are to go back. I'd like to, I'm working to fundraise to go back on a more, I guess, long-term goals in mind, because just the way I was thinking was, I'm part of the hymn program, and so I'm like, there's my cutoff kind of thing. But during the last year, the idea being back here was like, yeah, that'd be great. I could do that. But there is something good going on here that I can be a part of. And I can always be back in Oklahoma. I know that because you guys have created such a great home for me over the last 27 years in general. And so I'm like, but this is where I can be right now. And that I know I can provide what has been provided to me, how God has worked through the church here, I believe I can take with me to that place. And I think that place in Coleraine can use it well. One of the things with our church building is we use it as community rooms as well. Yeah, there's 47, members of the congregation, but I can't tell you how many people walk in and out of the doors per se throughout the week kind of thing that aren't, Christians, but they're like, I can come here if I need something or need a retreat of some sort kind of thing. And even people that are from their past interactions with Christians or church, they're like, I can't walk through the front door, but because I know these Christians, I'll come through the back door and still congregate with them or, meet with them. So, I think that speaks a lot for what that congregation has done. I always want to plug in the camp we do, summer camp we do, Camp Shamrock, which was started in the 60s, mainly during the Troubles in Ireland, to bring kids from the Irish and British sides of things to be like, hey, under God, we can live, in a community. We're all equal. And so, and even the directors, to show the equality, even the directors are sleeping on the ground in canvas tents. Everybody is, no one's exempt from that. Everybody has to clean. Everybody has to take the same showers in the same grimy place. No one gets a special treatment, but everyone is there for each other kind of thing. People were like, oh, you're going into a more postmodern place than America, a place that doesn't have as much Christianity or what have you. But one of the fascinating things that has come from that is being whatever the circumstance is, that Christ is still working kind of thing. And it is very, once you're there for a long time, very obvious. We have interns that come over that are just oh, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I didn't know I wasn't seeing God working, but then I got here and was like, oh, I can see it here, but now I can also see it back home even more. No matter the circumstances, whether you're free or oppressed or whatever, the role of the Christian is the same thing. And God still calls us to the same thing, to, love one another, love your enemies, love Him, and serve Him. And yeah, it's just nice to know, regardless of where you are, Coleraine, Ireland, Edmond, Oklahoma, Timbuktu, Wuhan, you get to serve Christ either way, and you can do it the same way in every place. So that's just been one of the things I've appreciated about being there.